It was supposed to be a normal ride down to the lobby. Just another mundane evening in my quiet apartment building. I stepped into the old, scratched metal elevator and pressed the button for the ground floor. Gee, the heavy iron doors slid shut with a low, echoing groan, sealing me inside the small metal box. But instead of the familiar, smooth descent, the cable above snapped into motion with a sudden, violent lurch. A stomach-dropping drop that made my heart leap into my throat. The elevator was falling, but it wasn't a normal breakdown. It felt like the ground beneath the building had completely vanished. I stared up at the digital floor display, and my blood ran cold. The numbers weren't changing normally. They were spinning, dropping rapidly into impossibly deep negatives. -1, -5, -12, -25. My building didn't even have a basement level. The glowing red LED lights began to flicker erratically, warping into strange, bleeding symbols that I couldn't recognize. Panic tore through me. I frantically smashed my palm against the emergency call button, but the speaker didn't ring. It only hissed, broadcasting a freezing, dead static that sounded like thousands of distant whispering voices. The elevator kept descending, faster and faster, plunging deeper into the dark womb of the earth. The air inside the metal box began to drop rapidly, turning ice cold in a matter of seconds with every breath I took. Thick, white plumes of frost formed in front of my face. The vintage fluorescent light tube above me started to buzz violently, blinking like a dying pulse and casting long, jerky shadows against the steel walls. The metal around me began to groan under an immense, unnatural pressure, as if the abyss itself was trying to crush the elevator into a tiny piece of scrap. Suddenly, with a horrific screeching halt that nearly threw me to the floor, the elevator stopped. The red display blinked once, displaying an impossible number, -44. The heavy iron doors didn't snap open. They slowly, painfully, slid apart. Outside, there was no lobby, no concrete walls of a parking garage. There was only a vast, endless, pitch-black concrete maze. The air smelled of wet stone and ancient decay. As the dim light from the elevator hit the hallway, I saw that the walls were covered in thick, pulsing black veins. Slowly breathing in the dark, I stood frozen in the center of the elevator, too terrified to take a single step into that terrifying geometric void. And then, the true horror began. From deep within the dark concrete tunnels, an echoing sound drifted toward me. A heavy, rhythmic, wet scratching. The unmistakable sound of long, metallic claws dragging slowly against the stone floor. Something massive, something ancient and faceless was sleeping down here. And the sudden arrival of the elevator had just woken it up. It knew I was inside. Pure, primal panic took over my body. I lunged forward and slammed my hand against the closed door button, pressing it over and open again. The scratching noise outside suddenly changed, becoming faster, sharper, a frantic, chaotic scrambling. It was sprinting toward the elevator. The darkness of the maze seemed to stretch out, and right before the doors could close, two long, pale, multi-jointed fingers gripped the edge of the metal panel. They were cold as ice. But with a loud mechanical snap, the heavy doors forced themselves shut, cutting off a horrific wet shriek from the dark. The elevator didn't go down this time. It shot upward with terrifying, neck-snapping speed. The G-force pinned me to the cold floor, gasping for air. But it didn't stop at my floor. It kept going, passing the top level, climbing higher and higher into a sky that shouldn't exist. The metal walls began to warp and bend, screaming under the pressure. The rivets holding the ceiling together started to pop out like bullets, ricocheting off the walls. I covered my head, waiting for the entire box to rip apart into the sky. Through the thin, warped cracks in the bending metal doors, I forced myself to look outside. There were no apartment walls left. The elevator was floating upward through a massive, silent, cosmic void. Looking out, I saw millions of other rusted elevator shafts, stretching infinitely into a dark, purple abyss. They looked like giant dead trees in a mechanical forest, completely disconnected from reality, floating in a realm where time had no meaning. I was lost in a cosmic graveyard of forgotten machinery. Suddenly, the flickering lights went out completely. Total, absolute darkness. In the dead silence, the elevator stopped moving. It felt weightless, suspended in the middle of nowhere, floating in the deep void. I held my breath, trying to hear anything over the sound of my own pounding heart. And then I heard it. A low, wet, rhythmic breathing, coming from right